The farmhouse. The phone call came on a rainy Tuesday morning. I almost didn't answer. The number was unfamiliar, unknown, the kind of call most people ignore. But something made me pick up. Ryan Carter? A woman's voice. Professional, calm, speaking. I'm calling regarding the estate of William Carter, my grandfather. The name instantly got my attention. I sat upright. What about him? There was a pause, then she said the words that changed everything. You've inherited his property. For several seconds I said nothing. My grandfather had died 6 months earlier. We weren't close, not because we hated each other, because he lived alone, far away from everyone, on an old farm outside a tiny town called Ashwood Creek. Nobody visited. Nobody stayed long, and nobody understood why he refused to leave. 3 days later, I was driving through heavy rain toward Ashwood Creek. The road seemed endless, miles of empty countryside, dead cornfields, old fences, gray skies. The entire place felt abandoned. Then I saw it, the farmhouse, standing alone in the distance, exactly the way I remembered it, old, silent, weathered by decades of storms. As I stepped out of the car, a strange feeling hit me, like the house was watching, waiting. The front door opened with a loud creak. Dust filled the air. Everything looked untouched. The kitchen, the living room, the furniture. It felt as though my grandfather had simply vanished. Not died. Vanished. Spent hours exploring. Most rooms contained nothing unusual. Old photographs, broken furniture, boxes of forgotten memories. Then I found the locked room at the end of a narrow hallway. Heavy wooden door. Unlike everything else in the house, this one had 3 locks. My grandfather had never mentioned it. I searched the house until sunset. Eventually I found a small brass key, hidden inside an old clock. The moment the lock clicked open, my life changed forever. The room wasn't a storage room. It wasn't a bedroom. It was an office filled with computers. Old computers. Very old computers. Dozens of them, some dating back decades. Wires covered the walls. Stacks of notebooks filled every shelf. And sitting in the center of the room was a single computer. Still. Running. The screen glowed softly. Impossible. The machine looked 30 years old. Yet, somehow it was alive. A message suddenly appeared. A chat. Window white text against a dark screen. I frowned. Then, the first message appeared. A message sent at exactly 8:17 p.m. The words made my blood run cold. Hello? Another message appeared. Can anybody see this? I slowly approached the screen. Then a third message arrived. My name is Emma. I'm scared. For a moment I thought someone was playing a prank. Then the final message appeared, and every hair on my body stood up. Today is October 14th, 1999. Stared at the screen, unable to move, unable to breathe, because according to my phone, it was the year 2026. The impossible chat for nearly a minute. I simply stared at the screen. My eyes moved between the message and my phone. The computer screen said, October 14th, 1999. My phone said, June 17th, 2026, 27. Years apart. It had to be a joke, some kind of software, some weird program my grandfather had built. That was the only logical explanation. Then another message appeared. Hello? Please answer. I know somebody is there. My heart started beating faster. Slowly. I sat in the chair. The keyboard felt ancient. Yellowed keys, dusty plastic, technology from another era. I hesitated, then typed, Who are you? The response appeared instantly. My name is Emma Collins. I'm 16 years old. What is your name? I swallowed hard, then typed, Ryan. Several seconds passed. Then, Ryan, thank God. I've been trying to contact someone for weeks. The room suddenly felt colder. Weeks? What exactly was happening? I typed again. Where are you? Emma replied. Ashwood Creek. I froze. The same town. The same place. The exact place where I was sitting. I quickly typed, What address? Her answer appeared. The address was identical. The farmhouse to the room, the house, everything. My pulse exploded. I was chatting with someone who claimed to be sitting in the same room. 27. Years earlier, I stared around the office. The dusty shelves, the old notebooks, the faded walls. Then a terrifying thought entered my mind. What if she wasn't lying? What if this wasn't a prank? I quickly typed another question. What year is it? 1999. What year is it for you? I stared at the keyboard, then typed 2026, nothing happened. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, then a message appeared. That's not funny, I typed back. I'm serious. Full minute passed, then Emma wrote, prove it. I looked around the room. How could I prove the future? Then I noticed a newspaper sitting nearby, a local newspaper from 26. I grabbed it, took a photo with my phone, then realized the computer couldn't receive images. It was too old. Then I noticed something else, a notebook lying beside the monitor. One page was blank. An idea formed. I opened the notebook and wrote, Ryan was here, 2026. Then I typed, look inside the notebook beside your monitor. Several seconds passed. Then, suddenly Emma replied, how did you do that? My blood ran cold. I looked down at the notebook. The words I had written were gone, completely gone. The page was blank. Again, I felt sick. Then Emma sent another message. The notebook was empty. But now your message is written on the page. Hands started shaking. This wasn't software. This wasn't a prank. Somehow, we were communicating across time. The impossible had become real. Then another message appeared, a message that changed everything. Ryan, something strange is happening in this house. I stared at the screen. What do you mean? Several seconds passed. Then, I think someone is watching me. The room suddenly felt silent. Too silent. I typed quickly, what happened? Emma replied, every night at exactly 11:17 p.m., I hear footsteps outside my bedroom. My pulse accelerated. Then another message appeared. And last night, the typing stopped. Started again. Stopped. Again. Finally, I saw someone standing in the cornfield. I looked toward the farmhouse. Windowed out outside, beyond the glass. The same cornfield still, stretched into darkness. Suddenly, I didn't like where this conversation was heading. Then, Emma sent one final message, the message that made my blood run cold. I think the person watching me lives in your time. Scene 3. Proof across time. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the message. I think the person watching me lives in your time. It made no sense. And yet, nothing about this situation made sense anymore. The next morning, I rushed back into the office. The old computer was still running. The screen was waiting. Then a message appeared. Ryan, are you there? I sat down immediately. Yes. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then, I thought maybe you'd disappeared. A strange smile appeared on my face. For the first time, Emma felt real. Not a mystery. Not a ghost. A person. A frightened 16-year-old girl trapped in a nightmare. I typed, we need proof. Proof of what? Proof that we're really talking across time. Emma replied almost instantly. I was thinking the same thing. For several minutes we exchanged ideas. Then suddenly I had one. Outside the farmhouse stood a huge oak tree. Ancient, massive, impossible to miss. I could see it through the office window. Do you see the oak tree outside? Several seconds passed. Then, yes. Grandpa says it's over 100 years old. I smiled. Perfect. Carve something into it. What? Anything. Emma hesitated. Then, okay. Several moments passed. Then she returned. I carved a star. I immediately jumped from my chair and ran outside. The cold wind hit my face. I sprinted toward the oak tree. My heart pounded. The bark looked normal, old, weathered. Then I saw it. A star, freshly carved, as if someone had cut it seconds ago. I stumbled backward. My knees nearly gave out. It was real. Completely real. The mark hadn't existed before. And now it did. Because Emma created it 27 years ago, I ran back into the house, my hands shaking. It's real. What is? The star. Several seconds passed, then Emma replied. I knew it. I sat silently, trying to process the impossible. Then Emma sent another message. Ryan. What? Something else happened. My stomach tightened. What? She took almost a minute to answer. Then, the man was back last night. The room suddenly felt colder. The man in the cornfield? Yes, I typed quickly. Did you see his face? No. Was he close? Closer than before. My pulse accelerated. How close? The response appeared slowly. As close as the barn. I looked through the window. The old barn still stood behind the farmhouse, about 50 yards away. Not far at all. Then another message arrived. He wasn't looking at the house. What was he looking at? Several seconds passed. Then, the office window. I froze. The office. This room. The exact room where I was sitting. My heart began racing. Then Emma typed, "Ryan. I think he knows about the computer." For several moments I couldn't move. The idea sounded ridiculous, impossible, and yet impossible things had become normal. Then something caught my attention. A photograph hanging on the wall. I had walked past it dozens of times, but now I looked closer. The picture showed my grandfather, standing outside the farmhouse. Beside him stood another person, a teenage girl, long blonde hair, blue eyes, red sweater. My blood turned to ice. Emma. I slowly removed the photograph from the wall. The date written beneath it read. I stared at Emma's face, then at the computer screen, then back at the photograph. She had been here, exactly where she claimed, exactly when she claimed. Then I noticed something else. Someone else stood in the background, far behind them, partially hidden near the cornfield, a blurry figure. Watching. My pulse exploded. I moved closer. The figure was difficult to see, but one detail stood out. The person wore dark clothing and appeared to be staring directly at the camera, directly at Emma, directly at my grandfather. Then another message appeared. Ryan. My eyes moved back to the screen. What? Several seconds passed. Then Emma typed, I just found something in the basement. What did you find? The response appeared, and immediately every hair on my body stood up. A newspaper. I frowned. So? Then her next message arrived, a message that made my blood run cold. The newspaper is dated 2026. Scene 4. The newspaper. From the future. For several seconds, I simply stared at the screen. A newspaper from 2026 in 1999? That was impossible. Then again, so was everything else. My hands trembled as I typed. Emma, are you serious? The response appeared immediately. I think so. What does it say? A long pause followed. Then, it's old. Damaged. But I can read some of it. I leaned closer to the screen. What does the headline say? Several seconds passed. Then Emma typed, Missing local girl still not found. My stomach tightened. A missing girl. Not unusual, not terrifying. At least not yet. Then another message appeared. The article mentions Ashwood Creek. My pulse quickened. What else? The typing indicator blinked. Stopped. Started again. Finally, the girl's name is Emma Collins. Everything inside me froze. The room went silent. My heartbeat became the only sound I could hear. I read the message again, and again, and again. Emma Collins. The same name, the same girl. The girl sitting on the other side of the computer. I slowly typed, Emma. Are you sure? The reply came almost instantly. It's my name. The room suddenly felt colder. Much colder. Then another message appeared. The article says I disappear on October 17th, 1999. I checked the date. October 14th. 3 days away. 3 days. Emma only had 3 days left. My mind raced. If the newspaper was accurate, then Emma was destined to vanish. And somehow a newspaper from 2026 had ended up in her basement. Then a horrifying thought hit me. What if the newspaper wasn't predicting the future? What if it was recording history? I typed, Emma. What? You need to tell me everything. For the next hour, she described the strange events she'd experienced. The footsteps, the cornfield figure, the feeling of being watched, the nightmares, the locked basement door, the sounds in the walls. Then she told me something new, something she had never mentioned before. Ryan. What? I found another room. I froze. What room? Behind the basement. A cold feeling spread through my chest. The farmhouse basement still existed in 2026. I had seen it, but I had never found another room. What's inside? The answer took longer this time. Then, I haven't opened it. Why? Several seconds passed. Then, because somebody locked it from the outside. I stared at the screen, locked from the outside, not from within, as though somebody wanted to keep something trapped inside, or keep someone trapped inside. I immediately grabbed a flashlight. Then typed, "Stay here. What are you doing? I'm going to the basement." "What?" "Right now." I left the office and rushed downstairs. The old farmhouse creaked around me. Every step felt heavier. The basement door stood at the end of the hallway, exactly where it always had. I opened it. The smell of dust and age filled the air. Then I descended the stairs, slowly, carefully. The basement looked exactly as I remembered. Concrete walls, old shelves, boxes, nothing unusual. At first, then I noticed something strange. A section of the wall looked newer than everything around it. Not new, just newer, as though someone had covered something decades ago. My pulse accelerated. I approached, ran my fingers along the surface, then found it. A hidden outline, a doorway, bricked shut. The exact place Emma claimed another room existed. I stepped backward, unable to believe what I was seeing. She was right. The room existed, or had existed. Then my flashlight beam moved lower, toward the floor, and my blood turned to ice. Words scratched into the concrete. Deep, desperate, written by hand. I knelt down, my heart pounding, and read them. 3 words. 3 impossible words. "Ryan, help me." I stopped breathing, because beneath the message was a date. October 16th, 1999, 2 days before Emma disappeared. Changing the pasty couldn't take my eyes off the words. "Ryan, help me," scratched into concrete. Dated October 16th, 1999, 2 days before Emma disappeared. My hands were shaking. The flashlight nearly slipped from my grip. There was no logical explanation. No possible way. Emma shouldn't know my name, not in 1999, not 27 years before we met, yet somehow she did. I ran upstairs, almost tripping on the basement stairs. The old computer was waiting. The screen glowed in the darkness. Emma was still online. "Ryan? Are you there?" I sat down immediately. "Emma." "What?" "You wrote a message." "What message?" "In the basement." Several seconds passed. Then, "What are you talking about?" I stared at the screen. She hadn't written it yet. Of course. For her, October 16th hadn't happened. It was still October 14th. Then a realization hit me. The message wasn't from the past. The message was from Emma's future, which meant one thing. The future wasn't fixed. It was still happening. I typed quickly. "Emma, listen carefully." "What?" "You disappear in 2 days." A long pause followed. Then, "I know." My stomach tightened. "What?" "I've always known." I stared at the screen, unable to believe what I was reading. "What do you mean?" Emma's response appeared slowly. "My parents think I'm imagining things, but I've known for months." "Known what?" Several seconds passed. Then, "That something is coming for me." A chill ran through my body. Something, not someone, something. I typed again. "What exactly?" Then another message appeared. "I don't know. But every night it gets closer." The room suddenly felt smaller. The farmhouse creaked around me. Outside, the wind howled against the walls. Then Emma sent another message, a message that changed everything. I found another newspaper. My pulse accelerated. What does it say? Several moments passed. Then, it mentions your grandfather. I froze. My grandfather. What about him? The answer appeared, and instantly my blood turned cold. He dies in 2004. I stared at the screen. Impossible. My grandfather had died in 2025, not 2004. Then I realized what Emma was saying. The newspaper came from the future, but not my future. A different future. A future that never happened. I quickly typed, "Emma." "What?" Read the article. Several seconds passed. Then, it says, "William Carter died saving a teenage girl." The room became silent. My grandfather. Saving a girl. Then suddenly everything clicked. Emma, the hidden room, the scratched message, the missing person article. My grandfather had known. Known about Emma. Known about the computer. Known about everything. Then I remembered something. A box. One I had found earlier while exploring the farmhouse, a dusty cardboard box in the attic, filled with my grandfather's notebooks. I sprinted upstairs. Minutes later I found it. The box was exactly where I'd left it. Inside were dozens of journals. Years and years of notes. I opened the first notebook. Most pages contained random observations. Dates, weather reports, strange sketches. Then I found a sentence circled in red ink. A sentence written in my grandfather's handwriting. If Ryan ever finds the computer, tell him not to trust the man in the cornfield. My heart nearly stopped. The notebook fell from my hands. I stared at the page, then back at the computer, then at the page again. My grandfather knew my name. Decades before this moment. He knew I would find the computer. He knew I would meet Emma. And he knew about the man in the cornfield. The realization terrified me, because it meant one thing. This wasn't random. This wasn't an accident. Somehow, everything had been planned. Then the computer made a sound, a loud notification. I rushed back to the screen. Emma had sent another message. Only 3 words. 3 words that made my blood run cold. He's inside. For several seconds I couldn't breathe. What? Another message appeared instantly. The man. The cornfield man. My pulse exploded. Where? Then came the answer. The answer I'd been dreading. Inside the house. The cornfield man, my heart nearly stopped. I stared at Emma's final message. He's inside. For several seconds I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. Then I typed, Emma, listen carefully. No matter what happens, do not leave the computer. Several seconds passed. Then, I can hear him. My pulse exploded. Where? Downstairs. The farmhouse around me suddenly felt different. The walls, the floor, the darkness outside. Everything felt connected. As though 2 different years were overlapping. I typed again. Lock the office door. A pause. Then, it's already locked. I looked around my own office, the same room, the same door, 27 years apart. Then Emma sent another message. Ryan. What? I can hear footsteps. The typing stopped. Then, he's coming upstairs. Every instinct inside me screamed. I jumped from my chair and ran downstairs. I didn't know why. Maybe I thought I could help. Maybe I thought I could somehow stop what was happening. The basement, the hallway, the kitchen, everything blurred together. Then something caught my eye, a photograph hanging near the staircase. One I had never noticed before. I stopped. The picture showed my grandfather, standing beside the farmhouse, and behind him. Near the cornfield stood the same dark figure, watching. The date on the photograph. My blood turned cold. 12 years before Emma, nearly 40 years before me, the cornfield man had been there, watching, for decades. Then the computer beeped upstairs. I sprinted back. A new message waited. Ryan. What? I saw him. My fingers flew across the keyboard. What does he look like? Several seconds passed. Then, tall, dark coat, no expression, gray eyes. My stomach tightened. Then another message appeared. Ryan. What? I think he saw me talking to you. A loud crash echoed through the farmhouse. Not Emma's farmhouse. Mine, the one in 2026. I froze. The sound came from downstairs. For several seconds I stood perfectly still. Then another crash, glass breaking. My pulse exploded. Someone was inside my house. Slowly I grabbed an old flashlight and moved toward the hallway. The farmhouse creaked around me. Every step felt heavier than the last. Then I reached the kitchen. The back door stood open. Wind rushed inside. Rainwater covered the floor. Someone had entered, or left. Then I noticed something lying near the doorway. A photograph, old, yellowed. My hands trembled as I picked it up. The image showed Emma, standing outside the farmhouse, looking terrified. The date written on the back, October 16th, 1999. Tomorrow. For Emma, tomorrow. Then I noticed something else. Someone stood behind her, almost hidden. The cornfield man, closer than ever, watching, waiting. Then a sentence was written beneath the photograph, a sentence that made my blood run cold. "You still have time." I stared at the words, unable to move, unable to think. Who left this here? How? Why? Then the computer beeped again. I rushed back upstairs. Another message from Emma. Only 4 words, 4 terrifying words. "He's outside the door." I typed instantly. "Don't open it." Several seconds passed. Then, I wasn't planning to. The typing stopped. Started again. Stopped. Then one final message appeared. And this time, my blood turned to ice. "Ryan." "What?" The response appeared slowly. Letter by letter. "I know who he is." Scene 7. The name in the photograph. My hands hovered over the keyboard. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it. Emma's message remained on the screen. "I know who he is." For several seconds I couldn't type. Then finally, "Who?" The response didn't come immediately. Instead, the typing indicator appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Emma was scared, terrified. Finally the message arrived, and the moment I read it, everything changed. "It's your grandfather." I froze. The room became silent, completely silent. I stared at the words, unable to process them. "My grandfather? William Carter? Impossible. Absolutely impossible," I typed immediately. "No, you're wrong." Several seconds passed. Then, "I wish I was." My pulse exploded. "Emma, that's impossible. The cornfield man has been in photographs since 1987. "I know. My grandfather was alive. I know." Nothing made sense. Then Emma sent another message. "You aren't understanding." "What?" "The man isn't your grandfather." I stared at the screen. Then another message appeared. "The man becomes your grandfather." My blood turned to ice. For several seconds I couldn't breathe. Then suddenly, everything clicked. The photographs, the timelines, the newspaper, the computer, the warnings, the impossible connection across time. I typed, "What are you saying?" The answer appeared slowly. Letter by letter. "The cornfield man is you." The room spun. I stood up so quickly the chair crashed backward. No, no, no. This was insane, impossible. The cornfield man couldn't be me. The photograph showed an older man, grey eyes, dark coat, a stranger. Didn't they? Then I remembered something. The photograph from 1987. The face had always been blurry, hidden, distant, unclear. I had assumed it was another person, because the alternative was impossible. I slowly sat back down, my hands trembling. "What do you mean?" Several seconds passed. Then Emma replied, "The basement room." "What about it?" I opened it. My pulse accelerated. "You opened it?" "Yes." "What's inside?" A long pause. Then, "Photographs." "What kind of photographs?" The answer appeared, and every hair on my body stood up. "Photographs of you." The room became silent, ice cold. I couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't breathe. Then Emma continued, "Not present day you. Older. Much older." I felt sick. "How old?" Another pause. Then, maybe 60. The exact age my grandfather would have been in 1999. Then another message appeared. "He left notes." "What notes?" Emma replied. "Letters. For me." I stared at the screen. "Letters? How?" Then Emma typed, "The letters say you spent years trying to save me." My stomach dropped. The room suddenly felt smaller. The walls closer, everything distorted. Then another message appeared. "The letters say you failed." I closed my eyes. No. 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 Then came the next message, the one that shattered me. "The letters say I die tomorrow." The world stopped. I stared at the screen. Unable to move, unable to think, unable to accept it. Tomorrow. For Emma. Tomorrow. After everything, after all the warnings, after all the clues, after all the impossible events, she still disappeared. Then Emma sent a photograph through the computer. Not digitally. Somehow it appeared on the printer connected to the old machine. The printer suddenly came to life. Paper emerged slowly. My hands shook as I picked it up. The image showed a hidden room. Hundreds of photographs. dozens of newspaper clippings. Maps.timelines, notes, years of research, all focused on one person, Emma Collins, and standing in the center of the room was an old photograph, a photograph of me, at least an older version of me. Gray hair, tired eyes, dark coat, the same face. The same man, the cornfield man. My legs nearly gave out. I collapsed into the chair, because, for the first time, I understood the horrifying truth. The cornfield man wasn't hunting Emma. He was trying to save her, and somehow, in another timeline, I had already spent decades trying. Then the computer beeped. A new message appeared. Only 4 words that changed everything. Ryan. What? The response appeared instantly. He found me. The loop for several seconds I couldn't breathe. Emma's final message remained on the screen. He found me. My hands shook violently. I typed immediately. Emma! Where are you? No response. Emma! Nothing. Then finally, a message appeared. I'm in the hidden room. Relief washed over me, only for a moment. Then another message arrived. He knows about the computer. My pulse exploded. I stared at the screen. The cornfield man. The older version of me. The man who had spent decades trying to save Emma. How could he know about the computer? Then I realized. Of course he knew, because he was me, or at least a future version of me. I typed quickly. Emma, listen carefully. What? You need to trust him. Several seconds passed. Then, what? The cornfield man isn't your enemy. A long pause followed. Then, Ryan, are you crazy? I thought the same thing. But he's trying to save you. The typing stopped. Then, how do you know? I looked at the photographs, the notes, the timelines, the years of research. The evidence was everywhere. Then I typed, because he spent his whole life trying. For several moments, nothing happened. Then a new message appeared. He wants me to follow him. My heartbeat accelerated. Go. What if you're wrong? I stared at the screen, then typed the hardest message of my life. If I'm wrong, nothing changes. But if I'm right, you live. Silence. Then, okay. I watched the blinking cursor. Every second felt like an hour. Then suddenly, the screen went black. Completely black. My stomach dropped. The computer began making strange sounds, clicks, buzzes, static. Then text started appearing, not from Emma, not from anyone, just lines of text filling the screen. Dates. Thousands of dates. My blood turned cold. The computer wasn't showing messages, it was showing a timeline of my life. Then one date stopped flashing. The screen zoomed in. A single video file appeared, recorded, July 14th, 2067. My hands trembled. I clicked it. The video opened, and suddenly, I was looking at myself. Older, gray-haired, wrinkled, wearing the dark coat, the cornfield man. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then the older Ryan smiled sadly. Hello, Ryan. I felt sick. The older Ryan looked exhausted, like a man who had spent decades carrying a burden. Then he spoke. If you're watching this, then Emma finally trusted you. I couldn't move, couldn't blink, couldn't think. The older Ryan continued. For 40 years I tried to save her. My chest tightened. Every timeline ended the same way. The room became silent. Then came the next sentence. Until one. I froze. One timeline. One success. The older Ryan nodded, almost as if he knew what I was thinking. Emma was never supposed to disappear. What? The words escaped my mouth. The video continued. Emma discovered the computer before anyone else. She became the first person to communicate across time. My pulse accelerated. Then the truth arrived. The final truth. The answer to everything. The older Ryan looked directly into the camera. The people who built the computer found out. My blood ran cold. Built it? Someone built it? Then the older Ryan continued. They tried to erase her. The room suddenly felt smaller. Then came the ultimate twist. Emma wasn't a victim. She was the inventor. I stopped breathing. Emma, The inventor? The 16-year-old girl? Impossible. Then the older Ryan smiled. A genius hidden inside a small town. She created the first temporal communication system. The computer. The room spun, everything connected. The hidden room, the timelines, the newspapers, the photographs, the warnings. Emma created the machine, then someone tried to take it and take her. The older Ryan continued. You spent decades trying to save her. You became me. And I became the cornfield man. For the first time, I finally understood. The cornfield man wasn't a monster. He was a warning, a protector, a future version of myself refusing to give up. Then the video reached its final moments. The older Ryan smiled, for the first time. A genuine smile. Check the printer. The video ended. The screen went black. Immediately, the printer beside the computer came alive. Paper slowly emerged. I grabbed it. A newspaper, fresh, brand new. Dated 2026. The headline covered the entire page, and tears filled my eyes. Because the headline had changed. The old headline was gone. The article that once read, "Missing local girl, still not found," no longer existed. Instead, it now said, "Local scientist Emma Collins wins National Technology Award." I stared at the page. Unable to breathe, unable to speak, unable to stop smiling. She lived. Emma survived. The timeline had changed. The future had changed. And somewhere, in another version of history, a 16-year-old girl was growing up, building impossible machines, changing the world. The computer screen flickered one final time. A last message appeared. Only 2 words, 2 simple words. From Emma. Thank you. Then the screen went dark forever. The connection was gone. But for the first time, that was okay, because Emma was finally safe. And the mystery had finally ended. The end.